My grandfather, whom I never met, was a mechanic. My dad knew enough to work on his own cars. Started as a laborer, and then very quickly weaseled my way into basically like lower level management. But I was monetized, but I was making maybe $5 a month, if that. So I mean, no real money to speak of.
Matt Stetar, the man behind Diesel Creek, wasn't always covered in grease, mud, and rust. Once, his life looked very different, comfortable, secure, even luxurious. But something changed. He walked away from stability and stepped into a world where every day meant risk, hard work, and the unknown. Why would anyone trade wealth for worn-out machines? What pushed him to abandon luxury for a life built on grit? The answer is hidden in his journey, and it's not what most people expect. From comfort to curiosity. Matt Stetar's story doesn't begin in a garage surrounded by engines or in a scrapyard filled with rusting trucks. It starts in a stable home where comfort and security are guaranteed. His father was a successful businessman, running an office supply company that dealt in copy machines and related products. For over 3 decades, that business provided financial security, ensuring that Matt and his siblings grew up in an environment where the essentials, and even many luxuries, were never in question. As a kid, Matt enjoyed the benefits of that stability. He attended a Catholic high school in West Virginia, a private education made possible by his father's hard work. But while classmates may have excelled in academics, Matt often found himself struggling to keep up with traditional classroom learning. Books and theories never felt natural to him. His curiosity wasn't sparked by equations on a blackboard, but by the tangible world of tools, machines, and the challenge of figuring out how things worked. This difference didn't discourage him. It redirected him. Instead of measuring his worth by grades, Matt found satisfaction in hands-on work. He enjoyed projects where he could build, repair, or create something real. That instinct ran deep in his family. His father, despite working in office supplies, loved fixing broken things around the house. His grandfather, whom Matt never met, had been a mechanic. Repairing, tinkering, and solving practical problems were in his blood. Even though he didn't initially imagine himself as a mechanic or machinist, those experiences planted seeds. For young Matt, picking up a wrench or figuring out how to make something work wasn't just about solving a problem, it was about discovery. Each project offered a puzzle, and solving it brought a kind of satisfaction that books never could. Matt finished high school, realizing that since it was not the environment for him, he would not be going on to any university for 4 years. He could not stand still. Instead, he would enroll at the nearest community college with a welding program. Contrary to the assessment of some people that community colleges are nothing but a joke, this particular program was well-stocked, well-respected, and provided its students with an education of the same caliber as those at large universities at a fraction of the cost. Exactly what Matt needed. The surroundings were conducive to his success, and finally offered him the opportunity to hone some skills that complemented his natural abilities. Welding was not simply melting some metal. It was patience, precision, and creativity. Each new assignment called for his skills in planning, concentration, and execution to be tested. With every completed project, he gained more confidence. He was not just learning a trade, he was discovering a calling. It was the very first step away from the comforts in which he had wrapped himself through years and conditioning. He belonged to a household nurtured in uplifting business, but somehow his aspirations drew him towards something much less secure, but infinitely more satisfactory. He was not going to inherit that kind of life. Rather, he wanted to build a life on his own through his own hands and his own grit. This decision, going from comfort to curiosity, shaped everything that was to follow. From the first sparks and welding in a workshop to the roaring engines he would one day restore, Matt was stepping onto a path that saw passion outrank luxury. And this well-laid path would one day unknowingly serve as a foundation for the world of Diesel Creek, where forgotten machines would one day become stories and a modest lifestyle would prove richer than any luxury. That foundation would soon be tested and strengthened in the only way real skills are forged: Building skills through trial and error. When Matt Stetar left high school and enrolled in community college, welding was his first serious step toward a hands-on career. But welding was just the gateway. What really shaped him wasn't a classroom or a single skill. It was the long series of trial and error experiences that pushed him to grow. After earning his welding certificate, Matt explored different jobs. His first steady role was in landscaping. At first, it seemed like just another job, moving dirt and building retaining walls. But landscaping introduced him to heavy machinery. Bulldozers, excavators, and skid steers weren't just big tools. They were puzzles. Each time he climbed into the seat, Matt's curiosity deepened. The machines challenged him, and he quickly learned that mastering them wasn't about brute force, but about finesse, patience, and listening to the equipment itself. Still, even as his skill grew, something felt missing. Landscaping was rewarding in its own way, but it didn't feed his hunger to understand machines more deeply. That push for something greater led him to repair shops and machine facilities. There, he finally found himself surrounded by the very puzzles he wanted to solve. Working in a repair shop tested him daily. Machines arrived broken, their problems often invisible at first glance. Some issues were obvious, worn-out parts or rusted bolts, but others required a sharper eye. This is where Matt discovered what he jokingly called his superpower. If he stared at a machine long enough, he could usually figure out how it worked and what was wrong. This wasn't luck. It was persistence, patience, and an unwillingness to give up until the answer revealed itself. Not every attempt succeeded. Sometimes he replaced the wrong part or misdiagnosed the issue. Other times, he thought he had solved a problem, only to see it resurface days later. But for Matt, failure wasn't discouraging. It was fuel. Every mistake taught him something new, sharpening both his instincts and his technical knowledge. This was a time of great turning for him in his roller coaster journey. While he was actually thinking of moving toward a somewhat more stable future in a steel additives facility, the same one where his father had once worked. It was supposed to offer more pay and security. He handed in his resignation at the repair shop and was ready to leap. It was just a day before his assumed last day when the offer was taken off the table. The company rescinded the offer, leaving him in a painful limbo, disappointed and uncertain. For many, this might feel like it was the wall, but nothing ever stops Matt. He swallowed his pride and went straight back to the repair shop. It toughened him. It taught him that plans could break down into pieces overnight, and that stability was always a gamble. The lesson also brought back memories that the repair shop, with its fierce game of constant practical challenges, was where he really got to hone his skills. He later transitioned to working on transformers and even donned a hard hat while working with road construction crews under his cousin. Each job gave him more insight into how things worked. Road work gave him a perspective on how large projects got coordinated, whereas pipeline work sharpened his skills under severe conditions. Before he turned 22, Matt already had more industrial experience than most people garner in a lifetime. Through all this, he had one constant: trial and error fueled his getting stronger. Every failure became an experience. Every piece of equipment was a lesson. Every setback, personal and professional, was an addition to the grit in his character. They didn't have luxuries attached to them, but gave Matt a most precious commodity: experience. That stage would soon take shape, not in a workshop job or a paycheck, but in the leap towards something entirely his own. The leap to Diesel Creek. By 2011, Matt Stetar had already worked across landscaping, repair shops, construction, and pipeline projects. He'd earned steady paychecks, learned a long list of trades, and built a reputation as someone who could figure things out through persistence. But deep down, Matt knew something was missing. He wasn't looking for just another job. He was searching for purpose. That search eventually gave birth to Diesel Creek, a name that would transform his curiosity into a calling. Matt's first online ventures weren't about heavy machinery at all. Like many young people, he started posting videos of dirt bikes and extreme vehicles. At the time, YouTube was still a growing platform. and Matt's uploads were more about sharing fun than building a brand. But as the years went on, his interests shifted. By 2019, his channel had taken on a new identity, focusing almost entirely on heavy equipment, fabrication, and restoration. The turning point came when Matt realized that his everyday projects could inspire others. He wasn't just tinkering with machines, he was preserving pieces of history, giving new life to equipment that most people would walk past and ignore. Diesel Creek quickly became more than a YouTube channel. It became a workshop, a classroom, and a diary of his journey. What set Diesel Creek apart was Matt's authenticity. While many creators polished their videos to perfection, Matt left in the grit, the mistakes, and the trial and error process that had shaped him from the beginning. Viewers didn't just see finished machines, they saw the struggle, the setbacks, and the small victories along the way. This honesty made the channel relatable. People weren't watching a celebrity mechanic, they were watching a guy who loved what he did and wasn't afraid to get dirty. Matt bet on Diesel Creek, however, and it was no gamble to create wealth or guarantee comfort. Fame quickly turned to fortune for some YouTubers, but not for Matt. He never amassed hundreds of thousands of dollars. He earns money, mostly from ad revenue and the occasional sponsorship. It suffices to keep his project alive, but it is far from glamorous. Although estimates put his value at $300,000, he is not exactly tiny compared to some of the ostentatious lives that some creators display. All for Matt, though, it was never about money. Legacy was the ultimate reward, reviving machines forgotten in history, documenting history, and creating a community of people who cared about the same things. Matt was getting his life in place as well, behind the camera. In 2021, he and Eva got married, and together they quieted things down in Pennsylvania with their dogs. Unlike the influencers who are chasing after constant growth, product lines, or media appearances, Matt kept things simple. He wasn't going to get entangled in making Diesel Creek a huge brand. No merchandising blitz, no empire building. He just wanted to keep sharing projects and stories, one machine at a time. One of the most visually captivating projects that drew viewers in was his restoration of a 1964 Jeep CJ5 that had been left to rot in a barn. It was more than just another engine he was trying to get to run for Matt. It was about exposing hidden stories trapped inside every rusty bolt and faded panel along the way. That slow and deliberate approach resonated deeply with fans. They saw that he wasn't chasing quick success, but was respecting the history of the machine while breathing in new life. The leap to Diesel Creek wasn't about walking away from stability. It became a choice of meaning over comfort. Matt traded the path of secure jobs and steady paychecks for one rife with uncertainty, long hours, and little pay. But in return, he gained something much more valuable: purpose, connection, and the ability to inspire others. Diesel Creek became the stage where all of Matt's trial and error lessons learned. Welding abilities and passion for machines fused. And with storytelling at its core, Diesel Creek grew into more than just a workshop. It became a living archive of machines and memories. Machines, legacy, and storytelling. When Matt Stetar launched Diesel Creek, it wasn't just about fixing engines or reviving rusty trucks. The heart of his channel was always storytelling. Every machine carried a history, and Matt treated each restoration like opening a time capsule. Rather than focusing only on nuts, bolts, and grease, he revealed the stories behind them, the people who built these machines, the jobs they once handled, and the world they served. Viewers quickly realized Diesel Creek wasn't a typical how-to channel. Matt didn't simply film himself turning a wrench and skip to the result. He walked audiences through the grind, hours of scraping rust, troubleshooting stubborn engines, or explaining how a machine was built and why it mattered. That blend of skill and narrative gave his work a depth few others offered. One standout project was his resurrection of vehicles abandoned since the early 90s. These weren't shiny collectibles. They were worn and forgotten, buried under dust and neglect. Where others saw scrap, Matt saw history. His philosophy was simple. Every machine had a story worth telling. Restoring them meant more than reviving metal. It meant preserving legacies. That respect for the past struck a chord with his followers. For them, Matt wasn't just repairing tractors or trucks. He was reconnecting them with an era of craftsmanship too easily discarded. The dents, faded paint, and quirks of outdated designs became part of the story. Instead of erasing time, he highlighted it as proof these machines had lived real lives. The result of this strongly emotional approach was Diesel Creek. Its audience learned mechanics and also got to witness history being written. Many viewers weren't even mechanics. They just tuned in as Matt managed to tell the story of restoration through the concepts of resilience and respect for heritage. Every machine became a character in this story, one that bore scars, yet was full of personality and deserving of rediscovery. Legacy was also something that personally inspired Matt. As a boy, he always admired his father and grandfather for being able to fix things. His life had mostly gone a different way, but Diesel Creek became his way of carrying that legacy forward. Through his channel, he was not only carrying on a family tradition, but teaching worldwide the same lessons that he had learned. In an age of inconsequentiality, he made people realize that these machines still matter. All that storytelling took place outside of the workshop. He would put it into words, how he got a machine, the former owners and their stories, and how it all relates to him at some time. These become more than technical projects of his restoration works. They become bridges between generations. Diesel Creek doesn't speak to fame or luxury. Rather, it's about legacy. Through each video, Matt proves that storytelling can be found in a rusted tractor or a broken-down semi, as well as in books or film. His restorations remind us that machines, just like people, carry legacies worth remembering. And in the process of telling their stories, Matt speaks to his own legacy defined not by comfort, but by purpose. That purpose extends beyond machines, shaping the life he's built off camera as well. The man beyond the machines. For all the grease, noise, and heavy lifting that define Diesel Creek, Matt Stetar is more than just the man with a wrench. His channel may spotlight machinery, but behind the projects is someone who has chosen a quieter, grounded way of life. While other creators chase brand deals, merchandise lines, or sprawling empires, Matt keeps things simple. His focus has never been on fame or fortune. It has been on living authentically, sharing his passion, and finding joy in small things. A clear glimpse into Matt's character comes from his personal life. In 2021, he married Eva, and together they built a home in Pennsylvania with their dogs. Unlike the flashy lifestyles many influencers showcase, Matt and Eva embrace a slower rhythm. Their life is filled with shared projects, quiet evenings, and a love of the outdoors. For them, happiness isn't about extravagance. It's about working side by side, building a life they can both be proud of. Choosing simplicity was not a step down, but a conscious decision. Matt once had the kind of financial stability many dream of. His family's background and his own career path could have kept him in a predictable, comfortable life. But when he walked away from that, he wasn't rejecting money. He was moving toward meaning. By trading comfort for curiosity, he built a life rooted in craftsmanship and legacy. That choice defines him as much as the restorations he shares. This honesty is also why viewers connect with him so strongly. They no longer think of him as an untouchable celebrity. They find it easier to relate to him as someone who could be a neighbor or co-worker. Matt, for him, honesty comes naturally, and it is evident in every single video. He never patronizes his audience or boasts about his success. Whenever something goes wrong in a project, he talks about it. Whenever things run long, he shows the unfortunate reality rather than covering it up with editing. Such integrity instills trust, and it is this trust that keeps people coming back. His estimated net worth is about $300,000, a surprise to many who think of YouTubers as millionaires. But for Matt, that definition of success does not include the financial part. He gets the most payment from the community he has built and from the satisfaction of knowing that his work counts. Viewers do not watch the show just to see an engine roar back to life. They watch to feel inspired by his patience, persistence, and respect for history. Some stories exist longer than machines. There is Matt, the storyteller, and Matt, the teacher, imparting knowledge that has the danger of getting lost with the tasks he undertakes. Explaining the idiosyncrasies of old machines gives him the chance to inform, keeping knowledge alive and history in the present. Conversely, living in an unpretentious manner depicts yet another model of a life valuing authenticity over appearance. In the end, neither his accomplishments nor his restored contraptions define Matt Stetar. Rather, it is the equilibrium he has maintained between past and present, work and leisure, simple and ambitious. Matt Stetar's story proves that walking away from comfort can lead to a life with greater purpose. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more. And be sure to watch the next video on your screen for another story you won't want to miss.